All right, if you have been getting bombarded with different ads and different reels and social media advertisements, email advertisements for different greens powders, here's what I will tell you. I have done my research when it comes to greens powders, and not only do I trust Organifi's green powder more than any, but the flavor is also better and the quality is better. They use all organic ingredients without binders and fillers and stabilizers. That is not what you want. I keep it in the fridge because you want it to stay nice and fresh. I have seen so many different products on the market that are full of added sugar, they're full of chemicals, oils, binders, and things that you do not want to be consuming on a daily basis. The only things I want to be consuming on a daily basis are things that are good for me and that are going to help me with my sugar cravings. They're going to help me with my energy. We hear all the time that our nervous systems are wrecked and that we are constantly stressed and we're constantly go, go, go and reaching for the quickest, cheapest, easiest foods, right? And that's not what we want. If we start our day with the greens powder, I like the green apple flavor. If we start our day with the greens powder, we know that we are giving our bodies exactly what it needs to fill in any nutritional gaps that we may have missed the night before. Or if we know that we're going out to dinner and we don't know exactly what we're going to be able to order, maybe it's not the healthiest space, we know that we have set ourselves up for success by consuming these high quality nutrients, vitamins, and minerals from the greens powder, not to mention adaptogens, which is really beneficial for your nervous system. So make sure you are starting out 2023 with me, staying strong on Organifi's greens powder. You can go to Organifi.com, use the code HTH at checkout. And again, my favorite products are the protein, it's the green powder. Everything that I'm putting on social media, I'm actually consuming. It's not just for the money, it's not just an ad. I am simply obsessed with this product. Organifi.com, use the code HTH at checkout for 20% off. Enjoy. Welcome to the Hotter Than Health podcast, a podcast and resource for those looking to expand and elevate their lives. Each week, we will bring you provocative topics, engaging interviews, and some of the biggest names in health and wellness to answer your burning questions. Each episode, you will leave with tangible tips and takeaways so that you can immediately begin to elevate and optimize your life.
And some people are brand loyal. It's like some people want the Ferrari, and that's fine. I maybe want the Toyota with like the full, like the package.
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
would
okay
rather have
with
a
Toyota.
nice, sustainable car. I don't need like a luxury vehicle quite yet.
Right,
Yeah.
and if Botox works for you, that's great. It is, typically a higher price.
Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Hotter Than Health. My name is Eliza Gelman. Welcome. I am so excited for today because we've never done an episode like this before. We've never gone into a setting. I've never gotten a treatment. I've never gotten anything done. I've had colonics done for the podcast. I went in and I've done a number of different, mostly just colonics. I have done a number of different services though that had to do with the podcast just so I could report back on them. I've tried products, I've tried meals, I've tried food. But today, we're going to the dark side. And when I say dark side, I don't mean it in a dangerous way. I just mean needles. We're going into the doctor's office. We're getting some Botox. And I'm taking you with me. So today on the episode, you are going to hear an interview between myself and Whitney Buckland. She's a PA and an aesthetic professional. She has an aesthetic studio in in Charleston. She specializes in subtle Botox, filler, chemical peels, Morpheus 8, IPL, laser hair removal, and more. And when I tell you, she is the epitome of natural looking injectables, I mean it. I walked in and I just let her have her way with me. And I'm not saying I got a bunch of stuff done. I just mean I said, hey, Whitney, you tell me exactly, if I had all the money in the world and I could just do whatever I wanted today, what would you have me do to work on symmetry, natural reduction of wrinkles. What would you do? And we went in, we did a little Botox, we did a little something something. I cannot wait for you all to hear about the experience. I think that a lot of times we villainize Botox or surgery, or we go in thinking that we're going to come out looking extremely unnatural, and trust me, there are some physicians and estheticians and nurses and professionals who will leave you high and dry and just take your money, and you'll say, oh, I want to look frozen, or I want my lips to be bigger, and they will just go balls to the wall and not really explain what they're doing, or they just say, trust me, but they inject the way that they would want to look themselves, and maybe that's not exactly what you want. I wanted someone who was focusing on natural and subtle modifications, and that is exactly what I got. We did this nearly 2 weeks ago, and I can tell you that what I got has had time to settle. It looks natural. Everything, all the makeup I've put on, all the skincare that I've put on has gone on so smoothly. I'm still smiling. I still have movement in my face. I can still look surprised. I can still look a little bit angry, but I don't have as many crow's feet and some of the deeper lines. And let me say this before we go in. When it comes to Botox, some people are like, oh, you don't need it. You don't need it. I know that I don't need it. This isn't about necessarily a need. This is about a want. And I think we should normalize that, because there is this spectrum of beauty that people either villainize or they like. And whether you want to go as far as not shaving your legs, not doing your toenails, not getting your nails done, not tweezing your eyebrows, not whatever spectrum of beauty, all the way to if you want to get your tits done and you want to get a BBL and you want to get liposuction and you want to do all these other things. It's all relative, and it's all on a spectrum of beauty. And I will say that personally, the only thing that I have had done is Botox, but I'm not against other things. I'm not against fillers and injectables and boobs and things like that. It's not been where I am right now. I would do lasers and facials, and people still think, oh, well, lasers and facials, that's not as bad. But nothing is bad. It's all a matter of how you look at it. And I really love the way that Whitney explains her view and her take on injectables and what she does. You can go look at her Shoreline Aesthetics Charleston on Instagram, so you can see before and afters. You can see what she's all about. You can see she has facial expressions. She's smiling. She doesn't look frozen. She works with men. She works with women, and I love what she does. I think that she gets it. She really gets it. Whitney understands the medical side of things and how the physician side of things. And she also knows how to talk to you in a way that you will understand exactly what you're getting. You will be able to more smoothly and clearly articulate exactly what you want. I think a lot of people are like, well, I want it, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to expect. I don't want them to just take my money and run and give me too much, or take my money and charge me so much and not get that much. So we have set up a deal for you guys. The winner who is selected for Shoreline Aesthetics will be local to the Charleston, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina area. So if you do win, then know that what you're winning is 20 free units of, I didn't get Botox, but you can either use one of the other neurotoxins that she talks about. You can use the one that I use, but you'll get 20 free units wherever on your face that you guys talk about, and you will learn more about that in the episode. You will also get $70 off of your service along with the 20 free units, and she will go more into that in the episode. But all you have to do is share that you're listening to this episode. That's all you have to do. Subscribe on Apple Podcast to Hotter Than Health Podcast and show that you are listening in some way, shape, or form to this episode, and you're entered in to win. Good luck. I think you all will love it. If you do not win and you just want to check out Shoreline Aesthetics, mention that you found her through the Hotter Than Health podcast, and she will hook you up with a little deal. Again, that is Shoreline Aesthetics CHS on Instagram. It's Whitney Buckland. She is phenomenal. She did such a great job on my forehead. If I do anything in addition to this, I will be going to her, 0 questions asked. I can't wait to do lasers and peels and all these other things. But we're getting in the chair. We're doing it together, guys. And I know that you will love this episode. I think that I wanted to go into this episode asking questions that I hear my friends asking who have gotten Botox maybe once or twice, or people who have never gotten it, as well as people who are against it. Because it's at this point, I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it to try and stop anything. We also ask the question of, what is in this? Is this dangerous for us? Why are people so scared of this? It is a toxin. It's not to say that we're, taking a multivitamin when we're going in here, but what I want to do is take away some of the fear and the judgment that comes with any natural fillers, Botox, injectables, any type of plastic surgery, whatever it is. Do what you want to do. It is your body, your face, your decision, your needles. And without further ado, let's get into this super fun, exciting episode. And if you want to know more about Shoreline Aesthetics, mention that you found her through the Hotter Than Health podcast, and she will hook you up. Enjoy. I think a big topic that I do want to talk about almost off the bat is the difference between Botox, Dysport, and other. Or is it neurotoxins?
Neurotoxins or neuromodulators. Yeah, either way. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, what is a neuromodulator, neurotoxin? What is it doing? And then I want to get into the different kinds.
Sure. Okay. So neuromodulator or neurotoxin is working on the muscles. So to get very scientific, it's working on the acetylcholine receptors of the muscle, which helps contract muscles. Okay. So you have to have acetylcholine in the muscle to do that contracting motion. It's a neurotransmitter. So we're blocking that, and it prevents us from moving those muscles. If you can't move those muscles, it's not going to give you those wrinkles in your forehead or wherever you inject it. But also then, if you can't work out those muscles, just like a workout, they atrophy.
Yeah.
So if you have these big, strong muscles that you can't move, just like if you were to lay in the bed, they're going to atrophy.
Okay. So that's why it takes less and less over time.
Theoretically, it can take less and less over time. There's some scientific literature that says maybe you get a little bit of a resistance to it in some people, and that's why they kind of jump from brand to brand.
Okay.
I personally haven't experienced that necessarily, but it can kind of go either way. Theoretically, you should need less and less.
Before we move to the next thing, you said we need acetylcholine. So the neuromodulator is blocking acetylcholine, which stops the ability of contracting the muscle wherever you put it. But, and I have to play devil's advocate here. Is it stopping anything else? What else is happening that could give people pause? I think some people think, oh my gosh, well, you're inserting a toxin into your body.
Sure.
And I want to get that. I mean, not that it's not an issue. It's still fairly new, but what research or what do you know about other side effects of what's happening when you inject a neurotoxin?
Sure. So it is botulism toxin. So if you think about what botulism is, it came from having canned goods go bad back when we had very poor processing of canned goods in our country, in our world, and people eating contaminated food. And so what that does is it gives you muscle tension. So it used to give people tetany or extreme muscle tension. So just
your body is in lock,
like a spasm. And it's very dangerous and lethal.
Sure.
So it's been studied. It's like, how can we kind of refine it down into something that's palatable? I mean, just like a vaccine or, something like that that's safe. So yes, of course it can do things to your muscles that we don't want it to do. So people can have a reaction to it where the muscle, it sags where we don't want it to, or something like that. Part of that is injector, like getting it in the belly of the muscle or not getting it into the wrong space.
So a lot of it's user error.
Yes, it can be. Now, there is an inherent risk anytime we're injecting our body with something that you could have an allergic reaction. Your body could just react in a funky way. So I always tell everyone that, hey, any injector could give you this or that, because it's like, I don't know your face until I know your face.
Yeah.
And your body doesn't know what to do with that until it's learned what to do with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah. So anytime, if we get a flu vaccine, you could have an anaphylactic reaction. So
I mean, people get food poisoning all the time.
Correct.
It's something like, if something is a breeding ground for bacteria and you eat it and your body reacts poorly, then there you go. You're not going to want to eat that food for a long time.
And theoretically, could it hit some weird muscle that there's so many things with every medication, and it's like, let's go over it. But by and large, it's been proven since the year 2000. It's been out in a cosmetic way since the year 2000 with very minimal side effects. We use it cosmetically, but also medically in the migraines, the hyperhidrosis, or the oversweating.
In the pits. I used to, when I was I think I was in 7th grade, like the most impressionable year. I was just figuring out everything about how my body worked, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I remember I would wear these really, really fitted t-shirts from Hollister, and didn't we all, but like the double overlapped tank tops from Abercrombie, the
with a mini skirt, with a mini denim skirt,
with a low-rise mini denim skirt. And I remember, and I would just wear eyeliner, no mascara. Hey, I literally looked like a mole rat, but I remember I would wear these really, really tight t-shirts because that was just the look. And I would have my arms clamped down all day because I had the worst sweat marks. And I remember I had this like electric blue shirt and I would wear it all the time. And I thought I was the hottest thing. And I had sweat marks like down to my ribs. They were the worst sweat marks ever. So all of this to say, I started using this one kind of deodorant, and I can't remember what it was called, but it would shrink your sweat glands in your armpits. And I thought I was like, this is the cure. This is it. But looking back, after a while, I kept getting breakouts and rashes. I was like, this is so uncomfortable, because I would use it after I shaved my armpits, which I probably didn't even need a shave at the time. And I remember thinking, even a couple years ago, like, why the fuck was I messing with my body so much when my body just wanted to sweat? It just wanted to. It was fine. I don't think I had overhidrosis, but I was just, oh my God.
So paranoid to sweat at all when you're a middle schooler.
Yes.
How dare you have normal body function?
Yeah, I was like that kid who wanted to like wear cute things and get attention from boys, but also play kickball and like crawl around. Just nothing fit. Holy tangent. When we're talking about Botox, when we're talking about neuromodulators, everyone thinks Botox. And for me, the first couple times I had it, mine lasted 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know if I have like Hulk-like muscles in my face, but I was
You're turning green looking at you.
like ripping my chest, my shirt open. But I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Botox doesn't work for me. It's expensive. What am I doing? What are the other types and what are options for people instead of just Botox?
Sure. So Botox is the brand name. It's recognizable. It's been around since the year 2000. Allergan is the manufacturer. They've done a great job making a name for Botox, marketing it. We all recognize Botox. Everyone that walks through my door says Botox, Botox, Botox. The reality is
people think Botox is it is the process.
Right. So it's all botulism toxin. And the other brands out there, Dysport is also botulism toxin. Xeomin is also botulism toxin. It's just another manufacturer making the molecule and maybe making it slightly differently.
So it's basically like, instead of saying, hey, hand me a Kleenex is just the brand.
Correct.
It's not, you're actually saying, hey, hand me a little paper
Tissue,
towelette,
yeah,
tissue paper,
Right.
but instead there's Puffs, there's Kleenex, there's all these different kinds, generic brand, but we just think Kleenex.
Correct, and it's a slightly different molecule. Xeomin, they manufacture it, they say, in a more purified way. Their molecule is a more pure molecule. So it is the brand. Now, then there's a different price point because Allergan is very proud of their product. So it's the most expensive.
Buying the brand.
You're buying the brand. And some people are brand loyal. It's like some people want the Ferrari, and that's fine. I maybe want the Toyota with like the full, like the package,
I
I'm
would rather
okay
have a
with the
nice,
Toyota.
sustainable car. I don't need like a luxury vehicle quite yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And if Botox works for you, that's great. It is, typically a higher price point for everyone, but it's not that any place else is lesser, or any other brand is lesser than. The one caveat I will say to that is, so as we develop new drugs, just like every other new drug, is it has to go through FDA, right? So there's some FDA constraints in some of the medications that say, hey, we will allow you to inject this product in between the eyebrows, but not the forehead.
Oh.
And FDA approval's coming for the rest of it, but that puts some serious, restraints on a product where you're like, well, FDA says we can inject it in between your brows, but not your forehead.
It shows some level of uncertainty.
Right. And also it's like, we do off-label in medicine all the time. I was trying to think of a good example, but even Botox brand, where you're getting it down your neck and this and that, like that's all considered like off-brand uses, but we do it all the time. So if you have Xeomin that's only FDA approved for right now between the eyebrows, but people are using it in the forehead, theoretically, if you got into trouble with that, it's like, well, that wasn't FDA approved. And it's like, do you know how many like oral medications we use that are not FDA
Do you know how many
approved?
supplements are on the market? More supplements than not have never even seen the FDA. You can put anything you want on a label.
Correct. And in a supplement for sure. Yeah. So it's like, take it with a grain of salt, talk to your injector who's done the research, who's read the research, that sort of thing. But those are some caveats to the newer ones.
Okay.
And so there's this juggernaut Botox that's elbowed everybody else out because of the process.
And I want to talk about Dysport because I think a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of my girlfriends have said, oh, I don't do Botox anymore. I do Dysport because it quote unquote spreads. What does that mean? And so what does Dysport do? Because I think that I even emailed you back. I said, hey, Botox is great, but in the past, it has not been worthwhile for me. Yeah.
So Dysport is another option. It's another botulism toxin. Every brand has its instructions of like spread area.
Okay.
So like Botox is like a millimeter of spread or centimeter of spread, I should say. And so it's like that it may spread a little bit more. Again, you have to be careful with that, and your injector needs to know that, right? Because it's like, hey, there's a little less room for error.
If they're getting a ruler out, I probably would be concerned.
Right? That's a little scary.
Yeah.
It's like you want them to be careful, but so there's a little bit of difference in the onset of action. It's all Dysport happens within 48 hours that you start seeing it.
Oh, really?
So it's a little
bit. Does it last as long?
Yeah, it should. It should. The research says, the 4 to 5 months actually is what they're claiming. It's all about the same, and it's all about your metabolism. So if Dysport lasts you 4 to 5 months, that's great for you, and if Botox wasn't your thing, I will say don't be fooled by the numbers. So a lot of people come in and they're like, I've had 150 units of Botox in my forehead, and I'm like, excuse me, where? and I'm like, are you sure it wasn't Dysport? And they're like, I don't know, it was Botox. And I'm like,
no, that's that's not the service. That's
correct.
The product.
So that's the product, and there is a 3-to-1 ratio between Dysport and Botox. So for every unit of Botox you would get, the equivalent is 3 for Dysport.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So that's an important note, because if you got 150 units of Botox in your forehead, I would be concerned. I would be concerned. I'd be like,
you would
where?
look like wallpaper. Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't know where it would go. But
so, okay, let's say someone walks in and they have no idea what they're doing, but let's say it's me. I've never gotten any services done, but I've got like meaty forehead. I've got some muscle filing cabinets is what I call it. And I've got crow's feet, not as much 11 lines, but a lot of crow's feet, and that's just the way it is. But when I walk in, and what would you recommend to me if I wanted something that was a little fast acting? You know, I've got some parties to go to in a couple of days, but I also want it to last. And what would you?
So I will always say, if you have a big event, don't do anything before your big event.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, I have to say that. I have to say that as an injector. You know,
don't try anything new right before an event.
Correct.
Okay.
If at least give it 2 weeks before a big event, preferably 4, so that if you need a tweak or it's a little bit heavy, it works itself out. Okay. So I have to say that.
Thank you for saying that. That's very honest.
Yes. Now, going back, I love Xeomin. It works great for me. Again, there's some FDA rules with it. Do we use it? Yes. In those areas, even, off label, we do. Any of the neuromodulators, it's, honestly, I love all the neuromodulators. It's more, if you're brand loyal, if you're whatever, Botox, I think
What if I'm saying, hey, I want to do this, but not completely freeze my face. I want to feel somewhat natural, but I also have a budget.
Sure. And Xeomin can be, depending on your injector, a little bit more budget friendly because I can pass on some of the savings to you. And they also just launched a new rewards program. I feel like I'm a spokesperson for Xeomin this morning.
I mean, you are.
Hello,
okay,
Mers.
That's okay.
Call me. Mers Aesthetics. Call me. So Xeomin, they launched their new rewards. Botox has a rewards program, Ally. So they launched Experience, which I was like, everybody get on because.
Oh, that's what you sent to me.
Yeah, I sent to you because it saved $75 when they launched it last month.
Awesome.
So I just take $75 off your bill because the $75 goes to me my, through my account if you sign up and whatever. So they also do a brand loyalty that if you stay with the same injector, you get $50 every 3 months. Where Ally, you're looking at $20 off.
Okay.
And Botox is more expensive. So overall, it's like you're getting more brand loyalty rewards.
Okay.
And that sort of thing. Me as an injector, I find MERS to be a little easier to deal with on the back end, ordering, receiving. They're more willing to work with me in certain things. But again, I think Botox is the Regina George.
Okay.
They are, and I, am not in the group yet. And so I think that, and I don't know, and I think if you're some big named company, they're really willing to work with you, I'm sure. But I like that. But
I think that it's smart of injectors to know that Botox already speaks for itself and you don't necessarily have to do that marketing work for them.
Right.
It's more,
and people like that.
People really like that. And they also, if they're going to be doing it every 3 or 4 months, they want to do something that works, but it's more approachable if you can save a little bit of money and come back in, because the first time I went in, I spent over $500, and then 4 weeks later I was so pissed.
Right.
And they were like, hey, come back. And I was like, I'm not in the state anymore. I can't,
Right. So I will say that to that notion too is there is this saying in the industry called dose equals duration. So it's a balancing act between getting you enough that it lasts, but also keeping you in that very soft, not overdone look.
Yeah.
So it is a balancing act. And that's why I would say don't jump around injectors. Find one that you like. I make parallels to salons all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so similar what business models they are, and the one-on-one, and it's like there may be 100 stylists on your street, but you find one that you like their personality, you like their work, you can get in with them, you can get a hold of them, that sort of thing.
It's one of those things where go ahead and book your next appointment before you leave.
Yes, if you can. And, the thing is that I want it to be that open communication of a relationship between injector and patient. It's like, if you don't like the highlights, your toner, call your hairstylist. I'm like, if you feel like you need a little tweak at the 2-week mark, like, let's look at it, because
and you're more likely to get the hookup if you have a relationship ongoing with these people.
Correct.
Sorry, not to sound like trying to save a buck, but it's real. I mean,
100%.
They will let you know, hey, by the way, this is happening in the week.
All the time. Like, I have regulars that I know are going to come to me. So I'm like, I'm not worried about throwing them a little IPL laser. I'm like, hey, you want you come to me for all your microneedling, you want IPL, like, it's laser season, let's hit you with the IPL, and I'm not going to charge you for it, you know. So
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's Botox, there's neuromodulators, there's getting rid of the fine lines and wrinkles and preventative in that sense, but getting down to laser treatments and micro needling. What you mentioned a little bit via email. Can you talk about microneedling and who is it for? Why is it important? And what is it like?
Sure. So microneedling is needles that go into your skin at different levels. Mine goes in different levels of your skin, and it's creating this pseudo injury to the skin tissue. So it's telling your body to release all of these inflammatory responses to heal your skin. So you get really red, and, you know, you like look a little crazy for 24 hours.
I love it.
Yeah. And then, but it's sending these armies to your face, to your skin, to build collagen to repair, and to send elastin to repair your skin.
Got it.
So it makes your skin look more supple. It helps with skin texture, tone, acne, scarring. Mine in particular has radio frequency in it, which is heat energy. So it zaps at those different levels heat into each layer of the skin, and it helps propagate that pseudo injury. But also, if you've had like a radio frequency facial, and you can like move, you can move fat around, you can ablate fat depending on the settings with the heat. So it's kind of a fancier one, but it does do that, and then your body repairs itself better. It's great for active acne. It's great for acne scarring, even like the picking acne.
Like the dark spots.
It's really dark spots, melasma, so the pregnancy mask, or don't even have to have been pregnant to have melasma, but all of us that were told we should be on birth control pills our entire life, a lot of us have melasma, and living in the South and in the sun. Melasma. So honestly, it's a great option for almost everyone.
Is it ever, I mean, can you get it while you're pregnant?
So the radio frequency is the only thing that I wouldn't mess with when you're pregnant. But I can turn all the settings off for that.
So you're just getting the micro trauma,
you're just getting the micro trauma.
Okay. And I guess that's
pregnant.
up to the person.
Correct.
Up to them.
Of course. Always talk to your OBGYN, all that. But I mean, it's just the needling.
Yeah. It's like a dermaplane, but in a more intensive way.
In a much more intensive
way. Yeah. Well, okay. I want to talk about this because I have struggled with, I used to have insane hormonal acne. Anyone who's listened to the podcast for any extensive period of time, I had this just cystic acne all over my chin, jockstrap, chin strap, all over my jockstrap, all over my chin strap. And once I got off of birth control, I left a job that was just super stressed, all this stuff, and it got better. And you can see, like, I definitely have texture. I have a lot of texture, and I have some scarring and dark marks. But overall, the physical acne has gotten so much better. I can't complain. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it so much better than it was? Absolutely. When it comes to hormonal acne, that's something that I think it doesn't even matter what products you use if you're not getting to the root cause of the hormonal acne.
Sure.
What do you tell people who walk in? Because, I mean, coming to a facialist and spending a lot of money on a facial it's one of the last resorts. You want to do everything you can at home to fix what's going on. So what would you tell people walking in who have super cystic acne.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to treat. It's not it's multifactorial, right?
Yeah.
So it's diet, it's all of those things. It's stress level. It's, are you on oral contraceptives? Then you can kind of talk about prescriptions, which we could take a deep dive, but some people use topical antibiotics, some people use oral antibiotics. Then you have the spirulactone. So a lot of people are familiar with that have PCOS or hirsutism, so like the facial hair growth from PCOS or other hormonal imbalances.
What is spirulactone? Because I have in my group text of girls, a couple of people have mentioned spironolactone.
So it's technically a diuretic. It's a diuretic medication, but what it does for hormonal acne and some other things is it helps block some of the hormones. So it works a couple different ways, but it's classified as a diuretic.
Oh, to help with like estrogen dominance.
Okay. Estrogen, testosterone conversion, like all these different things.
Got it.
So because the hirsutism, like you're getting a lot of the testosterone that we don't want.
Or like the ratios get off.
So it's blocking a lot of the precursors to these hormones.
Okay.
So it helps with that.
Okay. You mentioned diet and stress. When it comes to diet, this might be the wrong question to ask. Do you know anything specifically about the different meridians of the face and what different types of acne in different parts of the face mean, other than what we were talking about with the hormonal acne around your chin and jawline?
Sure.
Do you know anything about like between the forehead, around the mouth, or what would that look like?
So you're correct about the hormonal acne. It's typically in the chin and the jawline. Not necessarily, you have to look at your lifestyle. It's like, are you sleeping on a dirty pillowcase on one side and
Good point.
you have it over your ears on just one side, or like preauricular on one side, you just have to think about like that sort of thing. But not that I know of as like meridian wise. Other than that, I will be careful about the perioral or around the mouth acne because a lot of people think it's acne and it could be like a fungal dermatitis.
Sexy.
So it's like,
okay, I had a zip pop up this morning and it was not there yesterday. And it literally, I woke up this morning and it was gross, but it was already white. I was like, what the fuck? This came out of nowhere, and I'm off my period. I'm good to go for the next couple weeks. So, but I clean my pillowcases. I sleep on silk. I don't sleep on my face, and I don't eat meat. Like, I don't know what could I be doing there.
Sometimes it sounds like you're doing most of everything.
I didn't wash my face for probably 6 hours after my workout yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you think
possible,
that
of course. Yeah. If
Let's
you
just
like
call it
really
that.
sweated hard. Yeah.
Okay.
Sweating hard. Yeah.
Got it. As someone who does this for a living, and this could just be what you do personally, anecdotally, what are some foods and lifestyle activities or whatever that you either avoid or you add in? What are some foods, supplements, regimens, exercises? What are some things that you do specifically for skin health?
So for skin health, again, we could take a deeper dive into it. So there's this whole phenomenon of a skin biome. Okay, so everyone's heard of your gut. That's taken a real like flashy turn.
Yes,
of the gut.
We had Dr.
biome.
B on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and it was just all gut
biome, probiotics, postbiotics. I mean,
post,
during biotics. So the long and short of it is it's its own ecosystem, right? So it's very important that you're not doing anything super, super extreme on your face and like jumping from one thing to another. I tried it just in medicine. Like, I'm not going to prescribe you more than one medication at a time if I can help it. So I don't change products more than one thing at a time.
Got it.
So if something breaks you out, okay, it was that.
It's like you're not going to avoid all allergens because you want to see what you're allergic to.
Right. Or what your skin can tolerate, or okay, I'm trying a new vitamin C. Typically I will always... So there's the skin barrier and there's the microbiome. It's like protect your skin barrier. But we do things like retinols and vitamin C's and stuff like that, so it helps cellular turnover. So that's natural sloughing of the skin cells. That's going to help fine lines and wrinkles. It's going to help mitigate your acne, breakouts, all of those things. But then you have to realize you have to repair your skin's biome with a moisturizer. There's a lot of skin peptides that are,
so
building blocks to, the collagen, building blocks to all of those things that we all know in our muscles, right? So the skin is our biggest organ. And I think we've kind of ignored the fact of microbiomes and peptides and building proteins and stuff like that for our skin.
So when we think of our face as having its own biome, what do you think about using alcohol on the face? Not like rubbing alcohol, but glycolic acid or different types of, I genuinely, that's all I know. That's like the one that I know.
Right.
And I use it at night, like maybe 4 times a week.
Sure. So we want our, you hear all these commercials about pH balanced, right?
Yeah.
So we want our skin to be pH balanced. Balance for skin, we want it to be about a 5.
Oh.
Okay, so it's not super basic, and it's not necessary. It's trending
not super
towards
acidic.
acidic. So the glycolic acids, your salicylic acids, your vitamin C's that are L-ascorbic acid. So that's that's what vitamin C is, which is an antioxidant, which is good. Not all oxidants are bad, but free radicals and yada yada.
Sure.
But antioxidants. So glycolic acid is good for your skin because it's helping that sloughing of the skin.
Okay, like the rejuvenation portion of it.
Right. But you have to remember, after you use that, don't overstrip your skin with, make sure you're using a gentle cleanser, that you're not using a salicylic acid cleanser, then a glycolic acid toner or whatever you're using, and then I'm going to put on a vitamin C over this and a retinol, and you have to be careful to not overstrip it.
Yeah.
And if that's what your skin regimen needs and has tolerated, that's
to each
you
their
do
own.
You do you, boo.
Yeah.
But just be cognizant of giving your face time to repair the barrier in between. So maybe you take a night off of retinol and you just load up on like a barrier cream.
Yeah.
There's one I've been using recently, Skin Fix, which they are a brand out of Canada that does just barrier repair.
Okay.
So they're a big microbiome barrier company, and they're really a cool brand that does a lot of that.
When it comes to our listener, I would say a lot of our listeners are anywhere from, I'm 29, so anyone who's listening kind of has grown up with me, but 29 to let's say 35. Let's say we're looking at 2 or 3 products for evening, 2 and 3 products for morning. Where would you start? Let's not overcomplicate it.
Sure.
And some of these products can be $160 for this tiny little bottle. And some people can do that. Some people can't. What would you think?
And I think there are options for everyone in different price points. It's don't be blinded by some of those bigger names that are $180 for a bottle of vitamin C. Get the hell out of here. I would feel that way.
Yes.
Get the hell out of here.
Made from the fingernails of a newborn.
Right.
I can't keep up.
The Danish sheep. Yes. The milkmaids and the Danish sheep. Yeah, I think that so there is some in every price point. My biggest thing is find something that's not a ton of junk in it. It's a reputable source, that they're not putting just a bunch of filler into the product.
What is a filler ingredient so people can look at the back of their bottles and be like, is there any red flag ingredient?
Sure. I mean, if there's phthalates, if there's parabens, if there's, all that stuff we're starting to be trained on, stuff like that. Is that 100% bad? No, but think about it.
If you're using it every day.
Right. Look and see if what the first ingredient is, just like our food labels, is the first ingredient glycerin and then glycosilic acid. Cool. Like that's, you know, the medium like it has to come in. But it's like just be mindful.
What if the first ingredient is water? I feel like so many times the first ingredient is water.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I just think you have to research the product.
Got it.
But that does, that's like, well, how much water is in here?
Yeah.
And then, so there is something in every price point. It's like just do your thought process of the research. You know, is there something necessarily great at the bargain bin at TJ Maxx that's got a sticker
Expired,
on it and expired on the bottom?
Yeah.
You know, just be careful. Like that's, you know, just be careful, be a mindful consumer, and then be mindful of the Amazon drop shipping, because some of that can be kind of artificial stuff. Ooh. It can be stuff from different countries that they can label whatever they want. So just be mindful of it. Not to say everything off Amazon is not legitimate, and I order stuff off Amazon. Like I'll order some different things off Amazon, but be thoughtful of where it's coming from.
What you mentioned something about. Okay, but wait, still go back to the three. So two or
the
three.
Three regimens. Okay, for sure SPF. Like don't.
But in what order?
Okay, so it's always thinnest to thickest as far as like penetration of the skin. So if you can just keep that rule of thumb, for the most part, thinnest to thickest. So in the morning, I would do like just a gentle cleanser.
What's a brand that you like?
Oh gosh, okay. So my gentle cleanser that I have in my office right now is Vitality Institute. It's just a very basic gentle cleanser. That's what I've been using. There's also a new one, and that's a price point of like 30 some bucks. So, and it's this big pump. It's like not a terrible price point.
Okay.
If you're looking for something a little less, I recently used, there's a new, so Neutrogena has come around, y'all. I just went to this convention and they've really like made a big effort to come around and like meet us where we are. So Neutrogena has this new product out, Neutrogena like Hydra something. I can't think of it right now, but has hyaluronic acid in it. Okay, so hyaluronic acid is hydrating, which is counterintuitive because you're like, an acid, is it drying? Yeah. Hyaluronic acid is a hydrator. Okay. So it's a very gentle cleanser with a hydrator, which I'm like, great. Right now it's getting super dry out and cold and your heat's on and stuff like that.
That might be a good,
Yeah, and I think that's like $12.
Oh, okay.
So it's something super reasonable.
Okay, so cleanser.
Yeah, gentle cleanser. Some people still like the CeraVe or the Cetaphil and stuff like that, which dermatologists will always recommend. Some people have issues with it breaking them out. So it's like, if it's great for you, great. But there are the Neutrogena Hydro Boost is what it's called. And I've been loving that. Or some sort of gentle cleanser that doesn't have your salicylic acids in it. Hyaluronic acid is okay because it's hydrating. Then I would do a moisturizer. Okay. And then I would do SPF. Those would be my three things.
Great. Yeah. And then what about at night?
Okay. At night, I'm a double cleanser. Okay. So that's a 2-for-1. That's not going to count as my 2. Okay. I'm a double cleanser. So either find like a micellar water that you like.
What is micellar water? I have it and I don't know what it is. I haven't used it yet. It's a sample size.
Okay. Yeah. So micellar water is basically it's a chemical reaction. So it is putting on, it's almost like it's a saponification chemical reaction. So yada yada yada.
In English, please.
Basically what it's doing is it's pulling dirt, grime, oils, makeup, and it does this reaction where like part of it is the molecule is hydrophilic, part of it's hydrophobic. So it scoops up the junk off of your face and then its tail wraps around and it carries junk away. And
oh my God.
So it's all on the molecular level, but that's basically what it's doing. You put it on your face. Part of it likes water, part of it doesn't. So then it's like it forces it to do this grab and pull, and then you wash it away.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's numero uno. It can feel a little soapy because that's what soap does too. It has these hydrophilic reactions and takes grime, and then you wash it away and it does that.
Sorry. So then, so you first use your micellar water and then you use a regular cleanser.
Regular cleanser afterwards, because it may feel a little greasy to you.
Got it.
Or a little, and it may be
like filmy.
Yeah, and acne prone, you want to use something afterwards
Sure.
for sure. So right now I'm using a gentle cleanser again, because if you're acne prone, I would do like a salicylic acid cleanser, and then I'm doing a retinol 100%. Okay. So retinol, great for fine lines and wrinkles. There's a myriad of options, price ranges. You can do retinoids, retinols. Some of them.
What is a retin-A? What is a retinol? What is a retinoid? Right. What the fuck? Because I have this huge bottle of something that I borrowed from a friend, and the first time I used it, and then a tretinoid, whatever. The first time I used it a year and a half ago, I didn't know you had to use it every few days to start. So I used it every night for 5 nights. I was a tight leather handbag, and I felt like it couldn't move my mouth.
And probably scared you away.
It felt like I was wearing a really, really tight clay mask for days and days. And so that was fucked up. But now I started using it again, and I did it every 4 days. And I was like, okay, this seems good. I'm moisturizing afterwards, but I had this breakout really bad. So is that because my skin's already naturally dry, so I just do it less than normal people?
Probably less than normal. Okay. And so to answer your question, retinoids, retinol, some of them are prescription, some of them are over the counter, and
some
then they're differing strengths. Yeah, they're differing strengths. So your tretinoin that you can get a prescription for, and even that can come in like 0.025, 0.5, 0.1%. Like it can almost like a steroid like cream you can get prescriptions for. So it ranges. But yes, so if your skin is drier, use, they tell you pea size amount, period, but less frequently, and moisturize after. I love a moisturizer after your retinol kind of sets in.
Oh, yeah.
And do a moisturizer afterwards.
But what should we be using? A retinol, a retin-A, is it all the same?
It's kind of what works for you, because...
But what are the differences? Why?
Strength.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
Strength.
So what's the strongest? What's the lightest?
You would quiz me on that.
I would.
Yeah.
I
don't quote me on it, because there's so many. It's like hard to keep up with. Sure. So the prescriptions, like the tretinoins are stronger, and then they go up by percentages. Okay. And then your retinols, like over the counter stuff like that. And then
sounds
you
about
have to check
right.
your percentages. Like check your percentages on each one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, guys, if you have never used a retinol, make sure that you honestly, because I feel like if you don't see results in a day or two, you're like, oh, well, I must have not used enough, or I need to use it again tonight. No, actually give yourself 3 or 4 days.
Yes.
Coming from a literal non-expert. It's just, I've fucked it up, and then I kind of got it right, and then I fucked it up again. So just don't do what I do. And now I'm scared to use it again because I don't want to break out, but I think I just need to go less and then extra moisture.
Yes.
Afterwards.
Yes. Just take a break. I mean, some people work themselves up to they're using a retinol twice a day.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
That's never going to be me.
That's never going to be, and that's fine. But
like
if
the Ashkenazi in me cannot
honestly,
do it.
It's still like the dermatological recommendation is number 1 is retinol, which is like, I just went to this convention in Austin, and people are like, what are the regimens y'all are giving? Because I'm like, do I need to be doing something else? People are like asking, and they're like, we're still using retinol, dude. Yeah. Like, we're still using retinol. And then if you have some of your other issues, the melasma, like there's other medications topically that you can put on, and then there's some prescription like oral medications.
Yeah. What? It is almost that time of year again when everyone is starting to consider what they're going to do for their New Year's resolution. Of course, we have everyone talking about wellness and finances and relationships and self-care, self-love, all that good stuff. But when is the number one New Year's resolution? It has to do with fitness. Right? And we all know that January 1st, everyone dogpiles into the gym and they don't know what they're doing. Everyone's trying to use the machines. Everyone's using them wrong. People are getting their fingers stuck in places they don't need to be stuck in, passing out in saunas. They are all over the gym without much idea of what to do, without much direction. Introducing Mossa on Demand. So many of us are working from home now, and a lot of listeners of the Hotter Than Health podcast, they have children, and maybe they don't necessarily want to have to go all the way to a gym. Maybe you live remote. Maybe you're in Chicago where it's cold as hell right now. Who knows? Mossa On Demand has so many incredible online workouts. So, Mossa is an online workout program that gives not just intention with their programming, but variety. So, you can use things like mindfulness and breath work. You can do HIIT, cycle, spin, strength training. So many times I hear clients or friends talk about doing at home workouts, but they aren't getting pushed enough, or they aren't getting the resistance or the strength or the toning or the weights that they want to be using. And that is something that really Mossa has done really well. So Mossa can be used with equipment, and it can also be used with body weight, but still getting the strength aspect. What I also love about Mossa is they incorporate a different program and calendar for each person so that you can really figure out what days you want to be using for rest and recovery so that you're not just burning yourself out in the beginning of the year. Mossa has hundreds of on-demand workouts and recoveries for everyone, new movers and athletes alike. There are hundreds of people using this program, and that's so cool. So excited for them. Podcast listeners today get 30 days for free on top of an already free 14-day trial. So after your 44 days, a subscription of just $9.99 per month gets started. So you have workouts for every schedule, whether it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or 60 minutes, and they're actually enjoyable. They have music, amazing coaches, high energy, and you can try it all for 44 days for free to see if you like that routine. Use the code HotterThanHealth30 to check it out. And again, that is mossaondemand.net. You can go to MOSSA ondemand.net, mossaondemand.net. Use the code HotterThanHealth30 to try it out. Again, you can use equipment, you can use body weight, you can schedule in your rest days, whatever works for you, 10, 30, 60 minutes. I know you'll love it. So if you are interested in those at-home workouts, or when you're just traveling, this is a great option for you. Again, mossaondemand.net, using the code HotterThanHealth30 to try it out. What would you say when you went to this convention in Austin? Austin's a hot spot, so I'm assuming it was a really cool space to be. But what was the coolest, weirdest tidbit you got out of that? What was one of your favorite, like, ooh, I can't believe this?
So this is like not meant to be like a political stance at all, and it may come across that way, but I was slapped in the face because I felt like such an idiot. But I was like, oh my God, like I thought of this, but I haven't like really worked on this, and like shame on me. But it was like treating skin of color.
Oh wow, yeah.
Because I'm a white person, and you think in your own mind about, oh sure, there's other white people that have melasma or acne or this or that or aging and this. Yeah. And I'm like,
different color, different texture,
different things. And again, like salons, right? It's like if you don't know how to treat other hair, then you've really put yourself in a pickle. And I'm like, oh my gosh, have I put myself in this pickle?
That's incredible.
And so it's so different. So,
but now you're opening your eyes. It's not like you made a mistake. It's that you're learning from it, and you're now you're opening your eyes to different.
And I was aware somewhat of like my settings for like the heat on my microneedling radio frequency, the lasers. I knew that darker skin pigment and melanin can be affected by the higher levels and cause hyperpigmentation, and that's, no one wants that, where they have darker spots now, right? So it's like lower and slower and like all these things. But just so many other things about skin of color that I was like, well, it made me feel reassured and like, okay, so this is how you would go about treating skin.
But you're actually doing something about it. You're not just slapping yourself on the wrist and then thinking, oh fuck, I messed up. You're actually figuring out ways to attack this.
Correct. But shame from a different angle for like not thinking about it more.
Well, then if it's you, it's not just you.
Probably.
That's the whole thing.
Correct.
And that is something to think about, and that is something to consider, because I don't even understand my own skin. How, like, I can't imagine, especially if it's not something you're working on every single day.
Right.
So that's incredible. And I love that was a takeaway that you had. And I do want to take a quick pivot. This is something that this affects anyone who it wants to affect. This is not a medical need. This is not a necessity. This is purely aesthetic. Can we talk briefly on injectables? I'm sorry, not injectables, on fillers.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people walk around. I can't necessarily tell as much to my stupid eye when people have fillers, but I feel like I can definitely tell when people have had lips done. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times maybe some people want a look that doesn't feel as natural. Can you talk about fillers? What has your experience been? What would you say to someone who walks in and they're like, they show you a picture of Kylie Jenner or they show you a picture of Gigi Hadid and they're like, yes, this please.
So again, just like hair, it's like, what is your current situation? Do you have coarse, thick hair and you want, Jennifer Aniston straight as a board, like 2002 hair? It's like, that's not gonna happen. And so
your body is your body and you can
so to completely mimic someone, it's that's manage expectations.
Got it.
So, and then if you have a super super thin lip, there's something in the biz that like scares us all, or is like the super M shaped lip that's just so difficult, like thin and super M shaped.
Can you give it a celebrity example? Or
not off the top of my head, but let me think about that one. They
okay.
probably had theirs fixed. And there, and they had, there's ways to do it. It's, I always caution my patients of like, manage your expectations.
Yeah.
Let's do, I consider every lip filler to be a 2-part appointment. And it's hard if people don't want to commit to that. But I'm like, that's my kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm not charging you any extra for the second appointment.
You come back and maybe if you want a little more, or if this wasn't what you, okay.
Correct.
Or you can dissolve it if it's too much.
Right. Or if it's lumpy bumpy, we can talk about that because, what is lip filler? Lip filler is, for the most part, hyaluronic acid. So just like what was in the Neutrogena Hydro Boost.
Yeah.
So it's hydrating the lip. It's pulling water. It pulls water into the lip and then swells it up. So that's what it's doing. Okay. So, do some people's bodies not like that? 100%. Do some bodies...
Same way as my body didn't like that deodorant I put on it in 7th grade. Yeah.
Correct. Some people's bodies think it's everybody's body is going to say, this is foreign to me. What is it? So I'm going to send inflammatory markers. I'm going to swell. I'm going to get a little knobby around it because I'm going to encase it in case this is something bad.
Like a little tissue.
Wall it off. And then sometimes our bodies get over it and it looks lovely and nice. And then other bodies don't get over it and they've walled you off and it's giving you a nice granuloma or something else. And I'm like, well, this is not for you. Like, some people are like, I'm okay with a little bump there. Or some people are like, let's just dissolve it. And I'm like, fair enough, whatever.
Because I feel like there are so many times where I see people who they're like, I'll see girls on TikTok and I'm like, there is no way that's real. There is no way that just happened naturally and that's your natural lip.
Right.
Sometimes like you can see the edge of where the lip touches. And then there are other times when they get so much that it just looks like, and this is not, to each their own. If you think this looks good for you, then go for it. But I feel like so many more doctors and injectors need to be saying
no.
Yeah. And do you think that there's a lot of injectors out there who are like, well, you want it, I'm just giving you what you want?
Just like doctors, there's like some good injectors, there's some bad injectors, there's like surgeons or anyone, plastic surgeons that don't know when to say no. Yeah. I think that is one of our biggest skills that we need to develop, is saying no. And there's some people that will say no and some people that won't. But let me tell you, those people that are so overdone and the lips are crazy and stuff like that, is they've spent tons of money on that. That's not one syringe. So when people are like, I don't want to look crazy, I'm like, unless you've got $10,000 to spend today on your lips, you're not going to look crazy. You're not going to look crazy. So the volume in one syringe, we typically say, is about the size of like a large blueberry.
Okay.
In one syringe. So if you're talking about your entire lips, like
distributed,
it's distributed, or half of a syringe, it's like you're not going to get that crazy look. Now, can lip filler migrate? Yes. You get that upper lip migration and you can get that duck. That's what gives you that
I've seen
lip.
People, and this, you might have seen this on Reels or TikTok or wherever, but people taking a drink out of a straw and they have to push their lip down,
So I think
because the lip will pop up.
So I think that's the lip flip.
Okay, what is that?
Okay, so lip flip is...
Is that wrong? Some people like it.
Some people love it, and that's temporary. So the fact that that it's just like a day or two where like they usually can't like drink out of a straw or something.
Okay, no BJs.
So
Got it.
the lip flip is with the neuromodulator. So what it's doing is it's typically 2 to 4 injections, depending on your injector, across the lip, and it's paralyzing those muscles on top, so that instead of, because this muscle is a sphincter, it pulls down for us to use a straw to talk, to blow
like
a kiss,
the butthole,
like whatever. Yes.
Okay.
It's another sphincter. It's an oral mucosa. It's very similar. Let's draw all the parallels.
Okay.
And so
you don't want it to pucker.
Yeah, and that muscle pulls down this way, like like
you're making a kissy face.
Kissy face. So if you relax that a little bit, it will pop up the lip tissue.
Okay.
A hair.
Okay.
So sometimes people use it in combination with filler. Sometimes they use it less. Honestly, I've had a run of lip filler. I thought it was like a fad for a while, and then I've done a lot of lip flips lately, and people are loving it. And I'm like, hey, it's an affordable option, so it's much cheaper than filler because it's just less of a product. So it's kind of a fun thing if you're on the fence, or if you're like, I want to do something but not all the way, or budget friendly, or whatever the reason.
If you could think of a couple celebrities off the top of your head, and take a moment if you need, who are some celebrities that you have seen in the past couple of years who you think have done a really good job of natural Botox, injections, fillers, whatever, and even facials and skin texture? Who do you think has done a really great job, and so much to the point where you're like, I know they've had work done, but nobody else would see it to the naked eye?
Jennifer Aniston, I think. I mean, clearly she's got to have
I feel like I can see her lips. I feel like I can see the lip.
I'd have to take another look.
But only because I can see her kind of going, ooh, like doing the little pouty.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so Jennifer Aniston.
Okay. Yeah, but overall she's aged very well.
I mean, she's
gracefully, like
drop dead gorgeous.
Not overdone in general.
She's perfection.
Yeah. Who's overdone?
Or another one that's done really well.
Yeah. Let me think on that.
Okay.
Really well, because the overdone is what sticks out, right? So that's the whole thing, is like it shouldn't be super noticeable if it's done well. So that's where you're kind of like, oh, they've aged so well, I don't know what they've done.
Okay, let me give you one. What do you think about even J-Lo? She has perfect skin, but she's like, it's olive oil.
100% she's had stuff done. I mean, so technically, usually Hispanic women age at a lesser rate than Caucasian women. Okay.
Yeah.
So because depending on the melanin in the skin, you don't show it as much. You don't age as quickly.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So black women, they tend to like look great well into their years, and Caucasian women,
Seal is still one of my top 10. Ooh, hubba.
Right.
Yeah. Just gorgeous.
So,
okay.
Exactly. And it's like, what the heck? He just doesn't age. So genetics has the role, melanin has a role, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But I think she's had to have something done. But
like
she
lasers,
looks great.
Peels, whatever.
Yeah, she looks great, and it can't just be olive oil. I wouldn't think, But that's the whole thing, is it's like you can't pinpoint what it is, so that's good for her, good for her injector, good for her esthetician.
And then what about people who you really think have had nothing, and they're just like naturally this? I mean, wildly.
Like naturally aged.
Yeah.
But probably hasn't had
or not even
done.
Aged, but naturally. Okay, so think Gigi Hadid, because I've seen pictures of her when she's super young. I mean, I'm sure could be rhinoplasty, there could be lifts in that way, but I feel like some people just hit the genetic lotto.
Interesting. So I will always think Cate Blanchett. And she may have had some things done, but she's like, you can tell that she's aged, but like I think she's always like gorgeous and has this like sex appeal about her.
Yeah.
Like well into like this mature woman years, and I'm like, good for her.
I think that is the best. You're so right.
Yeah, she's great.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, okay, last thing before we do a live injection.
Yes.
I want you to do a mini consultation for me now. Okay. Because when I walked in, I let you know, hey, we started talking about lips, and I said, hey, I have a strong nose. I don't know if making other things on my face look bigger. So when you look at me, what are you looking at? And if you could wave a magic wand, what are we doing?
Right. Okay. So when you came in, I said you had gorgeous lips. Like, you have a great shape.
Thank you.
And if you, for some reason, wanted volume in the future, you'd be a great candidate because you have you'd be an easy candidate, I should say.
Great.
Because you have great shape already, and it would just be like a little plumping, a little augmentation.
My mom had big, fat, juicy lips. It was the best.
That was the best. You got some of that.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. So yeah, when you're looking at the whole face, so that's kind of like the dilemma when people come in and they say, I want Botox.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you trying to fix? Or what are you unhappy about? And it's kind of a hard conversation because do I want you to come in and be like, you know what you need? You know, I'm going to pin all these things out that we should do. The one thing is like, what is bothering you? And it may be,
for me, I definitely want to, and these are not things I'm unhappy about. These are just things that when I look at pictures, I'm like, oh, if that distracts from, I really love my eyes and I love like my smile or my lips. So I think that if I could minimize crow's feet and some of the big fat wrinkles in my forehead.
Sure. And some people come in and say,
because it lifts my eyebrows a little bit too.
I don't like how my makeup sits in the creases of my forehead.
Oh,
so maybe people say that. And then I'm like, okay, so let's talk about Botox. Some people say like, I just feel so heavy, like in my jowls or something. I'm starting to get these jowls. And then it's like a whole other thing. And then I'm like, okay, so why? And people are like, do I need filler here? And I'm like, that's like, we've opened Pandora's box now because now we need to talk about facial balancing and that sort of thing. Yeah. And so it's like, do the cheeks match the chin? And I did have someone that came in and was like, I don't know what I need. I want filler. And I was like, okay, what are we doing today? Because she's one of my friends. And I was like, what are we doing today? And she's like, I think we're doing cheeks. And I said, oh, no, honey, we're doing a chin. So that took a turn. But she was like,
so you like elongate the face.
Correct. I was like, you have great cheeks. I was like, but if I would do anything, I would make sure your chin, matches the cheek.
Otherwise it's like square.
Correct.
Okay.
Or just stubbed or whatever, depending on their anatomy.
Okay.
And then like look at jaw lines, is like jawline match your cheeks and stuff like that. So if you're coming in with lips, I'm like, sure, we could do a little conservative lip on you, but any more than that, we need to make sure we're balancing, and it's just a conversation. It's a little bit difficult when people want to book an appointment online and just be like Botox or filler or call me on the phone and be like, I need filler. And I'm like, okay, where do you think you need filler? And then let's just get it. Like the best thing is like, let's just get in here for a consultation.
Yes. Okay. So what are you telling me?
Okay. So,
and you can, whatever.
Yeah. So, you have great lips. I would say, honestly, you'd be a great cheek.
Really?
Yeah.
Cheek filler. Okay. If we're not doing filler today, what about a neuromodulator if we're just doing like wrinkles
if we're doing
today?
Neuromodulator, then I would do,
good to know for the future. Okay, cool.
But I think it would just like pop your cheek up a little bit and then be like, oh, look at these lips that you've got already.
Oh, okay.
And then if it would balance, your strong nose you don't love. Or
I do love the nose, but I do think that I don't want
balance wise.
Yes, just balance.
Right.
Okay.
Balance all of that on your face. So, yeah, I would love
Jake, if you're listening, cheeks, okay?
Cheeks.
Christmas.
Gift cards, cheeks.
And we are going to be doing a giveaway and a promo code for Shoreline Aesthetics, everyone. So just if you're enjoying what you're hearing, you can get it in person.
That's right. We'll do that. So,
okay, so how many units? What are we talking about?
Okay, so let me have you scrunch down really hard. Oh, you do have strong corrugators. You do have strong corrugators.
I'm telling you, I can like pull a truck with these.
Yeah, and lift
filing cabinets.
And you're interested in the
crow's feet. Yes.
Feet. Okay, so smile really hard. Yeah.
Because I can make them like, you know, big time.
Right. So, I mean, I would definitely go 20 in between your eyebrows.
Okay.
And then we can start a little bit modest up here.
Okay.
And do like 12. And then I typically don't do like less than 8 on a crow's feet.
Okay.
Which is a couple injections, but just so you get a nice result.
Okay.
And see how you like it.
What are we doing? Botox or are we doing?
So we're going to do some Xeomin.
Oh, I love Xeomin. Great. Yeah. It's my first time doing Xeomin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, especially since you tried the Botox and you're like, maybe it's not for me. Maybe you needed more.
I don't know. I think I did like 40 units my first time.
In your forehead.
Okay. And my crow's feet. Altogether, it was
Okay,
at
so
40,
that makes
45.
sense.
Okay.
Okay. Botox is now saying that for all those areas, their recommended dose is 62 for everyone.
I can't keep up.
I don't like blanket statements, so that's what they're saying is 62.
So we're going Xeomin.
Yeah, I'm going Xeomin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. But I'm gonna have you sit up here and just
do you have space that you need?
I'll do it.
And I know some people are a little apprehensive of needles, and that used to be me, but it's just not anymore. But
it's not you anymore. Let me have you actually sit your head up while we mark you.
Oh yeah.
And we'll do that first, and then taking photos.
I'm gonna take a little video of this. Yeah. So if you're listening, then make sure you check out the highlight that we have.
So I'm just gonna mark you, and then we'll clean you off, and then we'll do the injection. Okay.
You just do your thing.
Okay. Now you squint down really hard.
I told you I have really strong muscles.
Yeah, squint down really hard.
I feel like the needle feels like this pencil.
Well, good.
You know?
A little sharp, a little. And let me see you lift up one more time. I think you have like maybe a little bit of this one's a little bit higher.
Okay, I know that. There is something about like I have meteor. It's like meteor here. It's like more to lift up.
That's why I was like, I think you need a smidgen more over here.
For anyone listening, I'm telling you, if you're scared of needles, the needle feels like the pencil that she marks you with. That's
not too bad.
That's my professional opinion.
All right, so now I'll have you lay back and get cozy. And do a little pinch. How's that? Not too bad?
I didn't even know we were doing it, yeah.
So what to avoid before you come to any sort of neuromodulator appointment would be avoid aspirin.
Wait, hold on. Okay.
Ready?
Go ahead.
Would be to avoid alcohol 48 hours, avoid aspirin, ibuprofen, any of those sort of things. They may just make you bleed a little bit more.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're on like a Plavix or an aspirin from your cardiologist or your doctor or something, like don't stop taking it without talking to somebody.
Sure.
That sort of thing. But those are the things that can make you feel or make you bleed a little bit more. Then after today, it's always like no saunas tonight and no super vigorous exercise tonight.
So I can go for a walk later though?
Sure, that would be fine.
Okay. So, but what about right afterwards? I can't like put my head between my knees?
Yeah, so they say wait 4 hours where you're upright.
Okay.
And just to make sure like for whatever reason it doesn't like go places we don't want it.
Should I be like doing muscle exercises?
Yeah, some people say that helps like it set in, like doing your like high eyebrows, expressions, and that sort of thing. So do those sort of exercises. All right, now have you squint down really hard again.
Okay, I'm gonna take a break from doing that. Okay, ready? What am I doing?
Yes, perfect. How are you feeling? Okay.
Yeah. I just want to give you as much silence as possible so you could focus.
Sure, but let me know if you feel.
I feel fine.
Anything crazy?
I know. I kind of forget that I'm getting this done. I'm like, should I be more aware of my surroundings right now? I do think that having headphones on kind of blocks out some noise, and for some reason it's one of those things where you can't cry if you're drinking water, so it's like this
you can't feel pain if you have
it just doesn't seem like I'm going to be feeling
such an interesting
thing. See, I could barely feel that one at all. But if you are listening, we were just talking about earlier, if you're listening, it's not like I'm on another planet phoning home, but
ET phone home.
We were talking about how so many bachelorette parties and birthday parties and stuff like that, they're at least entertaining the idea of having a less traditional bachelorette or birthday party or gathering of some sort, and doing things more quote-unquote wellnessy. So whether it be a Botox party or a neuromodulator party or just doing facials or massages, and instead of going to clubs and doing all these other things, I think this would be a great, you're spending this much at a bar typically if you're getting some nice cocktails. May as well.
If that's something like you're into, it's super fun. Or if it's like some people will just have some questions, it's kind of fun when you come in a group.
Yeah. Some people get it, some people won't, but Totally.
Yeah, but hang out, play some music, order in some food.
And it takes 10 minutes. It's not like it is an all-day event.
Yeah. And of course, if you want to do some of the more invasive stuff,
Sure.
still it's like, we numb you up for 45 minutes, you hang out. So it is normal to have maybe a little bit of pinpoint bruising. I don't know if you've had that in the past, but
a tiny bit.
it can happen. More so around the eyes, I would say,
Yeah.
than anything else.
Where the skin was like finer.
And just a lot of vessels.
Yeah. That's where I had it the first time. And when it starts to set in, I think when I had Botox the first time, when it started to set in, I was like, oh no, it's setting in unevenly. One is more than the other, but I guess it was just taking its time to all adjust.
That is a good point, honestly, because I have some people that are like, I don't know, it's feeling heavy. That can happen. You can feel heavier, kind of like someone has their palm like on your forehead.
Yeah.
Or it may look you feel like it's uneven, but give it the full 2 weeks before we do any sort of tweaking, because it just sets in different areas at different times.
Yeah.
So give it the 2 weeks, and then 100% let's tweak it, if you feel like an eyebrow's up more or that sort of thing.
I got to figure out the movie with Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler where the girl comes in and she has the wild eyebrow.
Oh my gosh.
It was so
Is it
funny.
No, it's not, because that's Jason Bateman. I'm thinking We Are the Smiths.
No. Oh, damn, Jason Bateman. Whew.
I know.
Hubba.
He's hilarious.
How did you get into this?
So, I've been a PA since 2013. So, mostly did hospital medicine and urgent care. And then I've always kind of been interested in like derm and that sort of stuff in medicine, but I'm like, I don't know. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start learning about it. So I started going to different courses and classes, and then I had very patient friends.
Perfect.
Let me practice on them. And I just kept educating myself, and finding mentors and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Was there ever a time when you had a procedure done, you're like, I would have done this differently, this is not working for me?
That's a good question. I've been lucky with most of my procedures, I would say.
Good.
That there was never a time specifically that I was like, oh, I'm unhappy with this situation.
Got it.
I think I'm a little maybe harder on like how offices run. Like that's kind of my pet peeve.
Like what?
Like if people don't know you're there or supposed to be there, or you can't get a hold of people, or that sort of thing. When the office is hard to deal with, that's a big turn off for me. Like the provider can be great, but I just can't deal. And that's like why it's so important to have a good staff. And this convention I went to this weekend, they were actually like, everyone asks where I got my great staff from, and he's like, I make them. And I was like,
love that.
Yeah, it's like, he's like, I find the people with the attributes I want, and then I make them.
Mold them.
Yeah, so you teach them, you give them the tools. Anyone that gets some autonomy in their job, that's a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah.
So it's like, give them the tools, teach them, and then trust them. Because that was kind of an overwhelming thought of like, how do I scale? How do I get people in here that are on my same wavelength? And no one cares about your business like you, and all that.
But if you give them a little bit of a piece of the pie, in a sense.
Yeah, and financially, but also like some sort of employee incentive, but also just in the game to make decisions. Like we've all been in jobs where we're like, we can't make any decisions for ourselves. Like it's horrible. There's no gratifying part of this job. But
also the other injectors and your employees, they're the ones dealing with the customers as well. They have valuable insight.
Right. Oh, and 100%. And also like, they're the ones that answer the phone. They're the ones that
they hear the complaints first.
Yeah. That can really save it or ruin it. I don't know. It's just so important.
Yeah.
So I've been frustrated at clinics with that sort of thing.
Totally. How are we looking?
Good. We got the forehead and between the eyes done. So then we're just going to do some crow's feet.
Love it.
So obviously that's talking and injecting, but it goes by pretty fast.
And for listeners, this, I've just been laying here the whole time, and I feel like the only reason why it hasn't been half the time is because you give it a couple seconds in between each injection. It's not like every single second you've been injecting me. It's like there's a little bit of in between time.
Right. And I mean, I'm kind of still, I think, a slower, some people may go to town, but I'm a little bit slower.
Well, the last person who went to town on my forehead was in the waiting room of the place, and I came back with wonky eyebrow and surprise syndrome.
Surprise syndrome.
It was just not great, and then they charged me to fix it. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not coming back here. I'm not saying the name.
That's not a great experience.
And I was telling my boyfriend that I was getting this done. He was like, not ridiculing, but he's like, oh my gosh, you're just going to be frozen. And you're and I think that when you're not educated about it, people think that all injections are the same. Like Botox, you're going to look like a crazy person. I'm like, Botox, you don't know. People don't know.
Right. You shouldn't know.
But with filler, you can definitely know. Not more so, I think, the Botox.
Yeah, more so. It's so funny.
I'm like, babe, the last 2-3 times I've been, you had no idea.
Yeah.
You've had no fucking idea.
My friends and I joke around about this with the guys. Are like, I like a natural girl. And I'm like,
I bet you do.
And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't even know what. You don't know.
You have no idea what you like. You have no idea. Natural, as long as there are no wrinkles, no hyperpigmentation, no tits to the chin. No
blemishes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, my brand is more of a natural look for sure.
Yeah.
But
it's still for aesthetics,
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's more about minimizing distractions.
That's a good way of putting it. Like, I'm not distracted by my forehead wrinkles. And
yeah. Definitely my first medical procedure on the podcast. Even if it stings or has that pressure, it goes away after 5 seconds. It's like a little pulse, and then it's done.
That's our last one.
Amazing.
So hopefully you'll get a good 3 to 4 months out of this.
Sweet.
I'll be curious. Try a different brand and see what you think.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is Xeomin. And would you say this spreads more like Dysport, or would you?
I would say yes. Botox kind of stays more where you put it, which is good, but I think it can give you a little bit more of a stiff look because it doesn't have that diffusion. Okay. But again, it's like every injector has their preference, and every patient has their preference, and I think it's like what you work with the most. And
yeah.
So how do you feel?
I feel great.
Good.
Yeah, the forehead kind of feels hot, but
it may be a little tight. And maybe like a hand on your forehead over the next couple days. But, you have to think we put volume in, right? So that it's going to be tight because that space isn't used to having that volume. But overall should dissipate.
All right. For people who are listening, who are interested in coming to see you, what would you recommend? How can they book with you? And what do you want to do a little giveaway?
Sure. So I think we're going to do a Xeomin 20 units giveaway.
Okay. And what did I just do? How many units of Xeomin?
Oh, you did. I wrote it down
You're like,
somewhere.
Sweetie, you needed a 20 just in your left forehead.
20. So you did 52.
Okay.
But that's getting your crow's feet and everything. So 20, we'll get you started.
Okay.
And especially if you don't want crow's feet done, it's like a half. I mean, you're almost having a half.
And if you sign up through your network, you get $75 off.
So that was just last month, but you will get 50 off if you sign up through Experience.
So 50 and then $20. That's amazing.
Yeah. So you're probably, you get most of your treatment done.
And you guys, she is located right across from Pearls and West Ashley. Where would you describe?
Avondale. Yeah, so right across Gerald's and Pearls and Avondale. So we're sandwiched between community yoga and Avondale Wine and Cheese. So you can park on Savannah Highway, or we do have designated parking around the back. We have specific spaces, 101, where you can park. But booking wise, so that's, and if you know what you want, again, like that, you can book a consultation on my website. So Shoreline Aesthetics, chs.com. And you can go to their booking calendar and see what's available. Or if you're like, hey, Whitney, I don't know what I need, what I want, book a consultation, and then we'll just talk. We'll just talk about it. It is going to prompt you for a deposit when you do that. So just know that's just to protect my time so people don't no-show me. But
and that's not specific just to you. A lot of people do that. That's not like a gimme. That's just everyone does that.
And right now, I mean, I'm still letting that go towards a service.
Oh, got it. So if you put $50 towards that, then that's $50 towards your, okay, got it.
Towards your service. So, that may have to change in the future as far as business model goes. But right now, that's going towards your service. So it's not additional fee.
And so for anyone listening, if you want to enter to win, all you have to do is share that you are listening to this episode on Instagram and tag Hotter Than Health, and I will send this information over to Whitney, and you will be entered in to win, or comment on the most recent post on Instagram so that I know.
Yeah,
that would be your way to enter and get 20 free units of Xeomin. And if you want to call and schedule a consultation with Whitney and let her know that you found her through Hotter Than Health, then who knows? Maybe she'll have something special in store for you.
I know. Let's figure out.
Yeah.
Let's figure out a referral program.
A fun little situation here. But thank you so much for everything. This has been fun.
Yes,
and
thank
you know your shit.
Thank
this
you,
has been really
Liza.
great.
Thanks for coming and doing it and trusting me.
Of course.
Yes.
I would trust you right on video and on audio. But,
right.
All right, guys, we will talk to you next week. Let me tell you, I am feeling snatched. I am feeling smooth. I'm feeling infant-like in my forehead and in my crow's feet. Thank you so much, Whitney Buckland, for coming on the podcast. Remember, all you have to do to enter and win 20 free units as well as a discount off of your whatever service you choose. You can share this podcast and this episode however you want to on any form of social media. Just make sure that we can see that you are sharing it. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcast or on Spotify, and you will be entered in to win this amazing giveaway. Thank you so much, Whitney. Again, if you do not win and you just want to check this out and you want to go in and get some services done ASAP, then just mention that you found her, Whitney, for Shoreline Aesthetics. Mention that you found her through Hotter Than Health and she will hook it up. I hope everyone has a phenomenal, beautiful, amazing, wrinkle-free beginning to their December, and we will talk to you next week.